Woohoo! Please don't let me catch any of that. So we're back down on the beach. First time in about 4 weeks or so, maybe. We've had massive storms. I'm just fed up with sitting in the house because of the wind. So come down to the beach. Not that there's much left, in all honesty. Ideally I wanted to be on a rock mark, but Magic Seaweed said 4 to 5 foot swells, so it's a wee bit big for my liking on rock marks. There's massive tides tonight, and by the looks of it, rafts of kelp in the water, which isn't good, but we'll give it a shot anyway. Old shaky setup. All or nothing tonight, like big baits, hopefully to catch the last of the end of the season fish. That is home. It's good quality carp from Billy's as usual. Like proper jelly. Rub that in, make it a bit flatter. Using one of these baiting tools, or in fact if you're baiting up ever, you throw the lead away and keep the tension on your rig, it makes it much easier to bait up. Got a 6.0 Cox and Roll, Specimen XL, and then a 3.0 circle hook from your Pennel today. Maybe stab that a few times, help the card come out. Rig wise, I'm using the old faithful Pennel Paternoster. I've taken my rotten bottom off for the moment because I'm on a pretty clean bit of ground. Although as the tide drops, I'll probably stick one on. A long snood because it's swell's not very big, and I want my bait on the bottom. So yeah, good to go. The water's manky, which is great, but it is filled with shite as well. So see all this weed floating around. Not ideal. Well, I nearly tripped over some kelp there. I think. Oh, it is filled with kelp. Conditions wise, you can probably hear we've got a 30-mile-an-hour westerly wind. We've just had a really big northerlies, so this is dying off swell, and that's probably why there's so much weed in the water. There was a gap in all this wind. I mean, it's meant to continue for the next week, so I just thought, what the hell, I got some bait in the freezer, let's come out and go fishing. Took us a bit longer to get here because I got a puncture on the A1, so I'm probably an hour later than I should have been, but never mind. Yeah, first bait in the water, let's see how we get on. Whoa, that was a rattle. Thought I was getting weeded, but when I've just lifted into it, I couldn't feel any resistance, so the weed's either around my line on the water surface or is actually getting crabbed. Either way, it's not too bad. I mean, I prefer a little bit of weed than the crabs, I think. Not a bad start. First bite within 10 minutes. I reckon it was probably a coolie mine because it was a rattle rather than a pull down, but I'll take any fish at the moment. I think it was something tiny having a go at this. can feel a pack. Just gonna let it keep pecking away until a bigger fish comes along and sees what all the commotion's about. Told you it was rock there. Oh, that's not rock. Oh, we've got a fish on. Well, there we go, first fish. One cast, one fish, get in.
That's it, you're not gonna do.
Ah, you know. See you later. Oh, spot on. First cast, first fish. Did take about half an hour really for to get into them. I had a few knocks, a couple of coley hits I think, and then one decent cod knock earlier, but it didn't come back. I saw that one developing, so picked up the rod in time, and when I struck into it I was snagged. I let the tension out and I could feel the fish hitting it, and as it hit the third time I think, lifted in, and it had lifted us out of the snag thankfully. So I'm going to put a rotten bottom on because this beach is normally clean, but the big storms have washed all the sand away, and then get another big bait out and away we go. Let's hope it's not the curse of the first cast fish. Is that right? Yep, that's right. Let's crack on. That is all ridiculous. But that's where the fish is going to be feeding. Big hole here. Alright, there's a rock. That's as far as I'm going. That's the next big bait out in the water. There's so much weed. I've been really lucky that last cast. Got a big carp bait on again, and that's all I've got really. I was hoping to get some fresh bait, but I didn't get a chance to get to the tackle shop at lunchtime. So yeah, I've just raided the freezer and got the last of me carp and squid. Let's hope we get another one. It's just massive clumps of kelp as far as the eye can see. Weed and rocks though. So it's 9:30. It's about 45 minutes before low water, and that bait had been in the water for half an hour, so brought it in and it's untouched. So there's no crabs around. Yeah, bit of a shame that I didn't even get a nibble, but well, that's fishing I guess. This beach is really empty now. There's a load of rocks here that I've not seen before, and I think I mentioned before that the recent storms have just annihilated it, you know, they've taken half of the sand away, so might have one more cast here, and then there's some rocks appeared. I might head out onto those rocks and see if I can find some slightly deeper water, but we'll see what this cast brings. The wind's really picking up now. Blew my camera over before. I need a plunger for this. Actually, I'm going to put a rotten bottom on because it's just rock. And the guy I was just speaking to, he was parallel with us before, and now he seems to be about 100 yards out onto the shore, so I'm guessing this is completely emptied. Wow, look how far that's moved out. I reckon I'm going to be able to wade onto this sandbar out here and leave my box back there. It seems that way, yeah. I can see rocks out there, like. I think this is a big rock pool. There's obviously a bar there though, because the waves are breaking, so I'm gonna have a little ginger scout around. Oh, this feels a bit weird. Oh, I've just found your line. There's a hole. The waves are breaking, so yeah, there's a sandbar. I'm up to my ankles, so I'm gonna fish here. Just need to be careful of the tide because I don't want to get stuck out on this sandbar. It's actually getting shallower. Right, well, let's give it half an hour here. In fact, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk back in. Because I'm a bit nervous about it here. I mean, it seems alright. I don't want a freak wave or anything to come, and then at least my line's going to be fucking miles out to sea. Yeah. Was a hole. It's been about an hour since I cast that last bait out and waded all the way, and I've probably got about 200 yards of braid out. But the tide's really honking in now, so I'm hoping I've got enough bait left on to for when the fish start coming in. It's the theory anyway. Of course, this plan could always backfire on us, because I've got so much line out. There's so many rocks out there that if I did hook a fish, probably be impossible to kind of guide it through all the rocks. and if I snag up then I risk losing a lot of braid. So fingers crossed this plan comes. Either I get my rig back, which would be handy, or even if I lose my rig I get all my braid back. But ideally I'd have a fish on there and just be able to water skate over all the rocks. Well, I think I'm going to try and bring this in. It's had another half hour since I last spoke to you, so the tide's really pushing, and I think there's probably enough water in front of us now to justify another cast. I think I need a fresh bait on. This has been in the water for so long. But then it's in a really good spot. Oh, what a conundrum. Or a dilemma, I don't know. The guy next to me's just walked over with a cod in his hand. And said, oh, you've just got another one? He said, well, no, not really. I just noticed it's just been pushed into a rock pool, so he's literally just tickled a cod. Oh, some weight on this. Must be absolutely covered in weed. This has been a fish on it. Alright, so no fish, just a load of this horrible grassy weed. Some nice big squid. The guy gave us a yellowtail that he broke while he was pumping, so I'll stick that in there as well. There we go, the final bait of the night. Cracking bait that, look at the size of that. Oh, weighs a ton, that thing. That's as far as I'm going. I know it doesn't get much deeper. Well, it's the final bait in the water. Massive, you've seen the size of that. Going to give that half an hour and hopefully we can get one more fish on the shore. The water is still really shallow, but there's no else I can do. One thing I have learned tonight, I do like to try and learn something every time I fish, is that I shouldn't fish this beach on a 1.4 meter tide, because normally I fish it down to about a meter low, and you wouldn't have thought that 60 centimeters would make such a difference, but it's made a big difference. I mean, I've had like an hour and a half of no fishing really. I mean, I've had a bait in the water, but in all honesty it's probably been in about 30 or 40 centimeters of water, which could have, you know, could have got a fish, but I don't think with the size of the swell they're willing to go into that such shallow water. So hopefully now the tide's pushing, this big bait filled with carp might bring another fish in. But yeah, don't fish here when it's any lower than a 1 meter tide. Well, this bait's been in the water for about half an hour, 45 minutes. I've had to move back a load because the tide's coming in, but my theory about the fish turning on with the incoming tide is seems to be a bit of a dud in all honesty. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap it up. It's 1 o'clock. I've got at least another hour before I get home, so yeah, it's been a bit of a slow night in all honesty, and like I said, I should have probably chosen a different venue, but I didn't realise it would empty out so much. The recent storms have really kind of moved all the sand around on this beach and made it different to when I was here about 4 weeks ago. So yeah, you live and learn, you just never know, and that's the beauty with fishing. It's worth getting hat head for. My head's really itchy. It's been a really nice night. I mean, the wind was strong at the beginning, but it's pretty, barely even a breeze now, so it's really pleasant and really warm. We had one fish on the first cast, so I guess I succumbed to the curse of the first cast fish. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do all of that usual YouTube stuff if you wouldn't mind, so if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button as well, and please leave a comment if you've watched it and enjoyed it. Also, if you're interested in any of the tackle that I'm using, because I realised that I haven't talked about it, it's all in the description below. I'm not affiliated with any of the companies, it's just stuff I've liked using or bought and thought that I'd like using, and I have liked using it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and until the next one, tight lines.